Join me for my January 2023 plan with me, where this month I will be creating spreads with a cute nesting dolls theme. Hello to all you lovely and wonderful people. I hope you all had a healthy and enjoyable holiday season. I can't quite believe that we're setting up our bullet journals for January already. Time needs to slow down a little bit because it seems to be going crazily fast these days. With that in mind, let's get started. With all the hecticness around this time of year, I decided to be a bit more mindful of what I have time to create for January. So I'm stripping back the amount of workload this month, whilst hopefully achieving some spreads that you will still enjoy. I also thought I'd give myself a bit of a challenge and step away from my usual colour palette that I have been using a lot lately, and trying out some of these Kingart watercolour paints that came in a huge 80 colour assortment that my eldest bought me a while ago. I haven't really test driven these paints much yet. I've only used a couple of shades of pink so far when I created my Hocus Pocus theme for October. I've decided to test out a few shades of blue and then swatch them to see if they work nicely together and see how they look like once they are dry. As all these tubes are brand new, I'm having to break the little seal to get the paint out, which can be a bit fiddly. When you think of nesting dolls, you usually think of like reds and yellows and blacks, but I decided to use a cooler palette to reflect the coldness of January here in the UK. Before I start using any paint in my journal, I grab a spare piece of printing paper and I test out each shade of blue that I have chosen. Firstly, I do an undiluted swatch and then a very watery version of the same colour. And then I repeat this for each shade that I want to test out, and then I will have some idea of what tones I can get from each tube of paint once they are dry. And then once I've done that, I can then label them so that I will know for future reference which ones I am working with. Now I've just got to let them dry and then I can make a decision of what I want to use. For the cover page, I've sketched out a basic shape using a 3H pencil and a compass. I found the central line of my notebook and then made two circles, one large one at the bottom of the body and then a slightly smaller one for the head, making a kind of snowman shape. And then basically using two curved lines between the two circles, I join the head to the body, creating the neck and shoulders of the doll. Using the compass again, as I'm not the best at freehand circles, I then added a circle for her face. Once I was happy with the overall placement and the shape of my doll, I could then start doing all the fun stuff like painting her and adding lots of detail. This is one of those themes that you have in mind for a while. I follow a very talented artist on Facebook called Marnie Makes. Her illustrations are so cute and detailed and beautiful, and she inspired me to want to do this for a theme in my journal one day. As I had no clue for a while what I was going to do for this January, I thought it was the perfect opportunity to give it a go. There's lots of various names for nesting dolls. They're also known as Babushka dolls or Matryoshka dolls or stacking dolls. Whilst having a quick look to see what the symbolism is behind these little dolls, I found out that each wooden doll is imbued with the symbolism of fertility. The largest doll is considered the matriarch of the family, while the smallest is called the seed and represents the soul. They are seen as a representation of a chain of mothers carrying on the family legacy through the child in their womb. So for my nesting dolls, as you can see, I'm not really going for a traditional design, but I'm still using elements of some of the floral patterns and the clothing that can be seen on some of the traditional dolls. What I loved about the idea of this theme is there is a lot of scope for what could be created. You could do animals, family members, famous people, or even designs from the very elaborate to the very minimalistic. As I'm someone who is absolutely obsessed with everything Halloween, I think it would be really cool to do like some monster or like spooky nesting dolls. So that's possibly something I might do in the future. I guess it's not entirely appropriate for January, but unless you're someone like me who thinks it's appropriate for all times of the year. But for now, I am adding a snowdrop to the belly of my nesting doll in reference to January's monthly flower. I'm using this WH Smith watercolour pencil to give my doll some rosy cheeks. I didn't see the point of cracking open a whole tube of paint for an area that's so small, and I decided to give my doll some blonde hair because I thought the yellow would contrast against the blue nicely. For the petals of the snowdrop, I'm using a white Posca paint pen, which made life a lot easier than trying to create the petals by leaving negative space when I created the background on her belly. To make some of the elements pop, I'm using a very fine liner, I think it's a 05, and I go around and outline anything that I think needs to stand out more. For the designs on her hood, or is it a headscarf? I'm not quite sure. I wanted to use my Posca pen to create the appearance of falling snow and fitting into the wintry vibe perfectly. I added some teeny tiny dots to the petals and the stamen of my flowers, just to make it look a little bit more intricate in the design. And because I can't stand blank pages in my notebook, on the left hand side I've added a little quote that says, "Be your own kind of beautiful." And then for the title of January, I'm just adding a very simplistic font at the bottom of my doll. Next up, for my calendar page, I haven't done a big double spread for my calendar for a few months now, and I've kind of missed it, so I'm going back to it. I don't know if this is a me thing or not, but with which days the month is starting and finishing on, it's one of these awkward months when it comes to making an aesthetically pleasing calendar that I find a bit irritating. I always start my weeks with a Monday. I know that there are some people out there that do it differently, but I just can't get past seeing Sunday as the last day of the week. So with that being said, there will be one box on the top of the page all by itself, and where the last week of January is only 2 days, do I add them to the top line and make more space for bigger boxes, or do I make my daily boxes smaller and have them at the bottom, leaving me more space at the top for my title and my designs that I want to add? Thinking that's a better idea, I made my daily boxes smaller, so 6 squares across by 5 down, giving me enough space for the title and any designs I want to do along the bottom. I also have 2 little sections on the right hand side for my monthly goals and some notes. With the whole not starting your week on a Monday thing, out of curiosity, I just googled it and found out this. The Gregorian calendar currently used in most countries is derived from the Hebrew calendar, where Sunday is considered the beginning of the week. Although in Judaism, the Sabbath is on the Saturday, while in Christianity, it's on the Sunday. So I'm guessing it's a cultural, religious, and geographical thing. Anyway, back to my calendar page. In the space that I have at the bottom of my double page, I am adding a set of decreasing sized nesting dolls. I'm going to keep these little guys super simple because there's not a lot of space to work in, so if I do anything too elaborate, it would be quite hard to work in within that space. liked the floral pattern that I used on the cover page on the body of my dentist doll, nesting doll. I did have plenty of space to add some more dolls to the top of the page, but I thought it might be a bit too much overkill. So with that in mind, I just decided to add a lot of these floral patterns around the title of January and along the top of the boxes for the goals and the notes. I think that's enough decoration for my calendar page. I'm quite happy with it. I didn't want to go too over the top, so that it was left quite simple and still aesthetically pleasing. Next up, I haven't done this in a while, but I'm bringing back the one line a day to my journal. For this spread, I worked out where I wanted the position of my 31 lines to be, and then I masked off a section at the top and the bottom of my page. Using the denim blue I have been using mostly so far, I paint the top section to create a solid strip of colour, which once dry, I will add details and a title with a Posca pen. At the bottom, I use the same floral pattern that I have used on the doll's dress and with my titles on the calendar page. Once everything is decorated and dry, I can then very satisfyingly remove all of the washi tape to reveal the crisp and clean edges. With a light grey brush pen, I then highlight all of the lines with an odd numbered date. Over on the opposite page, I'm merging my habit trackers and my sleep trackers together on the one page. This month I am tracking 5 habits and incorporating each individual calendar for my trackers into its own little doll shape. I'm tracking reading, watering my plants, creating, exercise and getting into bed before midnight. I'm so bad at going to bed at a sensible time and then wondering why I feel shattered when my toddlers wake me up at the crack of dawn. So I'm hoping that having this as a tracker will be the kick up the bottom that I need. I paint in the top strip of the box so that I can then add the days of the week. Then add a label to each tracker and then finally decorate them. Once again, when it comes to decorating these little dolls, I try to make sure that each and every one is different. Rather fittingly, I add a sleep tracker to the bottom of my page, just to see how many hours sleep I get each night. On the x-axis of the graph, that is for the date, and then on the y, that's for the amount of hours. So for the amount of hours sleep, I am doing from 1 and then being incredibly optimistic with my graph at the possibility of 10 hours sleep. So now on to my mood trackers. Last month I didn't use any creative mood trackers and I kind of missed them, so I'm bringing them back. So usually, I'm sure you know the drill, I make enough illustrations for each day of the month and then colour them in each day. But this month, however, I'm drawing them all out and then colouring in the 31 different little dolls, making sure that there are no two the same, but drawing in their faces. And then I can simply add an expression to each face corresponding to how I'm feeling that day. I did make a little mistake when numbering them, and I wonder if you noticed. When I drew everything out in pencil first, I checked numerous times that I had 31 dolls, but then it came to the end of the month and then it seemed like I had one extra. I thought, oh well, I can have one to track how the overall month went, but then later I noticed I'd missed out the number 4. So the little nesting doll at the bottom of my right hand page that I thought was extra, I've labelled 4, and I know it's not chronological, but sometimes you just have to roll with your mistakes. I think doing my mood trackers this way is going to end up saving me a lot of time in the future. I think sometimes I give myself a bit too much to do when it comes to colouring in each day, and then on busy days you can feel a bit overwhelmed and not end up actually colouring them in and then having to play catch up. And really, bullet journaling shouldn't feel overwhelming, it should be making your life easier, so I think I'm going to try and be mindful when I plan out my mood trackers for the future and try and do something like this again. I'm so happy with how this spread turned out, and I really enjoyed the challenge of coming up with 31 different designs for my dolls. So now I'm on to my first weekly tracker of January. For this first week, I'm going to do an 8-day week, as it seems a bit redundant and wasteful of a page to use a whole page just for one day. With the pencil, I drew out 8 boxes measuring 20 across by 10 down, with a space of 1 box in between them, before going over them in a fine liner. On the right hand page, I section off a blank space with washi tape, and like I did with my liner day spread, I added decoration later once the paint had dried. And then added a small doll to the top left hand side of the left page for my title of a week 1. Underneath her, I did a section for notes, and then I paint the headers of each of the days and then write the dates on with a Posca pen. And then I can go over all my pencil lines with a fine liner. I use a 05 black fine liner to give it a bit of a thicker line. With regards to the headers, I was wrong. I didn't use a Posca pen, I used a white gel pen. But yeah, I added the days and the dates, and then decorated each header with a little floral design. And then with the Posca paint pen, I add all the designs to that painted panel and put in Hello 2023. I think you can tell by now that I really like the white florals against the backdrop of the blue. I think it leads to a really elegant and sophisticated design. And hopefully you don't think I overkilled doing this too much this month. But then that means for me, there's another opportunity to peel away that washi tape. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed my theme. Let me know in the comment section below what you think. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, then please help feed the algorithm and give it a like. And if you like my content and would like to support my art and the channel, then please consider hitting that subscribe button and notification bell so that you are notified when I post future videos. I already have many ideas for the year ahead, but if there's any particular themes that you'd like to see me do, then also let me know in the comment section. And hopefully look forward to hearing what you're going to challenge me with. But for now, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you so much. Take care and hopefully see you soon.